Put your hands together. Let's hear it for Mr. Titus Mutai.
Hello! How are you guys doing? You guys are excited. Clearly, you weren't kidnapped. If you had been kidnapped, you wouldn't be here today. So like you've heard, my name is Titus. And the less I talk about that name, the better for me. Some of you will get that when you will be on your way back home. Yeah, but I'm excited to be a Kenyan, especially around this time. Don't you just love how our politicians speak to us? I hear the president every time addressing people, and I'm like, what did his wife do to this gentleman that he has to come up with so much bile addressing innocent young kids of 23-year-olds? Can you imagine? Do you remember the height of the demonstrations in 2024? And the president was asked, what do you have to say about the opposition to the finance bill as has been expressed by the very many Kenyan youth? And our president stood straight, looked at the camera and said, I'm very happy that we are finally having a conversation about the finance bill as Kenyans. When I took over this presidency, many Kenyans had no idea that we have something called a finance bill. And I'm like, what a way to respond to a narrative. That's like you going home and being confronted by your wife for cheating, and instead of addressing yourself to the issue, you're like, I'm very happy we are finally having an open conversation in this marriage. In fact, when I took over as the husband in this relationship, many people did not know that cheating is something that happens from time to time. And I'm like, that's no way to respond to people. Personally, I wanted to be a politician. In fact, I developed my own party. It didn't meet all the requirements for registration, but I'm still working on it. And if you'd like to join my party, you could do that tonight. I also see we have a lot of beautiful ladies in the audience. Give it up for the beautiful ladies in this audience. I would say this, women make this world better. If this show was only men, I wouldn't want to perform. I have no motivation to perform to men. But having said that, you women are also interestingly very weird people. For example, why would you send an apology text to your significant other, starting with the phrase, first of all? First of all, why are we addressing your feelings in my apology text? I thought it was you apologizing for your transgressions. And women do this weird thing. They would never apologize for an entirely bad situation. They apologize for specific aspects of an argument or whatever it is that you're having. So they would write an apology text and then list the things they're apologizing for. I apologize for saying this, for doing this, for assuming this. And then they also make a point of reminding you the things they think you should be apologizing for. And then conclude the apology text by writing, on my part, I apologize. And I'm like, who are you leaving all these other things and apologize? You're just listing problems and you're not going to address them? Which tells me most men get into arguments with women quite naively. You get into let me tell you, for the men in the building, you will never win an argument that a woman has begun. Your best chance of winning is you begin your parallel argument to run concurrently, so that by the time... That's why when I get home and my wife is furious, Titus, why didn't you come home late? Why did you come home late? I'm like, first of all, have the chicken been fed? Because, believe you me, as weird as that sounds, there is a point down the argument where you'll need to make the point that the reason I don't come home early is because chicken are being mistreated in this house. Why would I bring myself to be berated alongside chicken? That's your only chance. Having said that, I'm quite an argumentative person myself. And if there is one thing I've established is that it's extremely difficult to win an argument with an intelligent person. But it's damn near impossible to win an argument with a fool. I know that because I win all the time. One time I come home, my wife is furious. Somebody has left the toilet seat up. Titus, why did you leave the toilet seat up? And I'm like, first of all, why are you assuming I'm the one who left the toilet seat up? And then she goes, we are only two in this house. Who else could have done this? And I'm like, I don't know. There are forces out there hell-bent on destroying my marriage, leaving the toilet seat up so that we have this argument. And it doesn't usually go very well. Let me check my notes. Oh. Now, Kenya is a third world country, or we've been told we are a middle income country, which I don't believe because of the levels of unemployment in this country. I recently met a friend of mine I went to campus with, and she has never been employed ever since we left campus. And when I heard that, I was like, I know somebody who could employ you, so I gave her a recommendation. And then a couple of months down the line, I met this lady, and she tells me she hasn't been employed yet. And I asked her, why haven't you been employed? And what happened to the opportunity I referred you to? And she tells me, for some reason, the person who was to employ her wanted to sleep with her. And so she declined the job. And I was totally disappointed by that answer. Just because I know the kind of men she slept with. Yours truly included. Like, guys, if you have ever given it up for a Jameson on a Friday night, you surely can give it up for employment for the rest of your life. Why would, okay. I know all the ladies are frowning because I did that joke. One day I did that joke and a lady came and told me, you don't understand as a man. And I'm like, you have no idea. I've also been taken advantage of. It wasn't nice, but that's what life serves. I also have a boss. I do have a boss. And I don't understand what's wrong with bosses. I just tend to think bosses tend to be insensitive when they give feedback to their subordinates. My boss tells me to write a proposal. I dedicate my life for 3 weeks researching, doing everything required to submit the proposal. I finally submit the proposal and my boss responds with, this is totally rejected. Totally rejected. I didn't even totally submit this. Why? You could have simply rejected it and achieved the same objective. You didn't have to totally reject it. Now, innocent commas and full stops that were just punctuating sentences have also been rejected. They are wondering, why have we been rejected? I thought we were doing what we were supposed to be doing. And it's frustrating. Another time, my boss tells me to go to his office for one of those things they do often, every now and then, for an appraisal. As soon as I get into his office, this guy looks at me and tells me, Titus, what value have you brought to the company in the last 1 year? That question threw me off so much that the only response I could muster was, but I'm valuable. He didn't like it. But it's just the insensitivity. Like, why couldn't you? Then I had to come up with stories to tell him so that he could approve my salary increase, which he didn't. Now I'm doing comedy on a Friday night to a bunch of people who are doing well, eating well, while I'm here. Finally, before I leave the stage, I feel like there are certain words that men should never use when conversing with their fellow men. Not because they are bad words when used in context, but they just have the potential of escalating what would have been a simple situation into a full-blown conflict. For example, I was involved in an accident. A boda guy hit my car from behind. And before I could establish what had happened, this guy had already rushed to my window and is like, boss, pole, nimekuuma? And I'm like, nobody has been umwa, dear. Why would you tell me nimekuuma? And you know what usually happens whenever you are in a boda accident? All the bodas around that area will quickly come around to try and defend their own, or probably steal if they have the opportunity. And that happened too. Guys came in rushing and they were like, ah. Then somebody else who was walking by asked, what's happening there? And then somebody responded, wanaume wamelimana hapa. No, who has limwa? Why are you saying wanaume wamelimana hapa? It's a car and a nini. And you see, you would think that is the worst. And I know most people who don't understand Swahili, I do not have the capacity to translate these jokes to English. That is why you are not laughing, but I'm sure you know, have a Kenyan friend, and if you don't, That's what you get for not having a black person seated next to you. Yeah, that table is looking at me weirdly, but there is one representative. I know she will do the translation. Some women also were passing around and they were like, nini imehappen hapo? And somebody responded with, wanaume wameingiana na nyuma hapa. And I'm like, no, call the police. I am not dealing with this right now. Thank you very much, guys. That's been my time.